Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nirisha, one of the trainer in Sankyana Consultancy Services. Today, we are here to discuss about the actual and relative time assumptions what we take up in SDTM in clinical domain. Yes. So let's see about today's agenda. So what we are going to cover up the topic. So the topics we are going to cover up are like the formats for your date or time variables, and we are also going to see about date or time precision, how we are going to use that for the date and time variables as well, and what are the intervals of time and usage of the duration, how we are going to report them, and also the interval with uncertainty. Along with that, we are also going to cover up how this use of study day variables are being there. So let's start with the topic of your formats for your date or time variables. So coming to your actual and relative time assumptions, where we have timing variables, which are an essential component of all SDTM subject level domain datasets. But in general, I can say all domains based on three general observation classes should have at least one timing variable. So in the events or interventions general observation class, this could be the start date of the event or the intervention. Whereas coming into the findings observation class, where data are usually collected at multiple visits, at least one timing variable must be used in your findings general observation class. And your SDTM IG requires dates and times of day to be stored according to the international standard, that is nothing but your ISO 8601 standard. So it provides a text based representation of your dates and or times, intervals of time, as well as the duration of the time. So how are the formats for your date or your time variables? Let's see one by one. So your date time variable, that is DTC, may include data that is represented in ISO 8601 format as a complete date or time, a partial date or time, or an incomplete date or time. So your IG template uses ISO 8601 for calendar dates and times of day, which are expressed like 1985. This is an example, but the format follows in the similar way. That is 4-digit year, 2-letter month, 2 letter sorry 2 digits year, and then T, that's the separator between your date as well as your time components, and you have hours, minutes, and seconds which are being represented, and the last Z represents the time zone. So your HH, that is going to represent your 2 digits of year, and AM or PM are not allowed in case of your time. And let's see other characters in this. So we have hyphen, that is to separate the time elements like year from month and month from day, and to represent missing date components, and colon, that is going to separate the time elements hour from minute and minute from second. Next we have solidus, to separate components in the representation of date or time intervals. P is also there, so that is going to designate the duration. So precedes the components that represents the duration. So spaces are not allowed in any ISO 8601 representation. And what are the key aspects of the ISO 8601 standard? Let's say one by one. So your ISO 8601 represents dates as a text string using your notation 4-letter year, hyphen, 2-digit month, and hyphen, and then your 2-digit day. And also time is represented as a text string using the notation hours colon minutes colon seconds. The STTM as well as your IGA require the use of your ISO 8601, and there is an extended format which requires hyphen as the delimiters for date components and colon delimiters for the time components. And the basic format which does not require delimiters should not be used in your STTM datasets. When a date is stored with a time in the same variable, such as your date or time, the date is written in the front of the time and the time is preceded with t using t as a separator. And implementation of this ISO 8601 standard means that your date or time variables are character or text data types, and the SDS fragment employed for date or time character variable is DTC, date time components. And let's see about your date or time precision. So the concept of representing your date or time precision is handled through use of ISO 8601 standard. According to this standard, precision, which is also referred as completeness or representations with reduced accuracy. This can be inferred from the presence or absence of components in the date and or time values. Missing components are represented by right truncation or a hyphen for intermediate components that are missing. If the date and time values are completely missing, then the SDTM date field should be null. Every component except year is represented as 2 digits. Years are represented as 4 digits. For all other components, 1-digit numbers are always padded with at least a leading 0. And here we have an example which provides examples of ISO 8601 representation, complete date and truncated date or time values using ISO 8601. So appropriate right truncations of incomplete date or time representations. Here you can also note that if no time component is represented, then your T, that is the separator time designator, must be omitted in your ISO 8601 representation. So in the first observation, we can see date and time as originally recorded, like December 15, 2003, and then 13 hours 14 minutes and 17 seconds. So here the precision is complete date or time. So in the ISO format, how it is being represented: 4-digit year, a hyphen, 2-digit month, a hyphen, 2-digit day, and then the separator along with hours colon minutes colon and then the seconds. And whenever you have unknown seconds, then what is the scenario you are going to represent? Then the colon after your minutes as well as the seconds are missing in that. Coming to your unknown minutes and seconds, it's been represented in the same format till your hours, that is 13. And unknown time, when there is no time representation, time component is not there, then you will just represent your date as 4-digit year hyphen 2-digit month and 2-digit day. Unknown day and time. So then it comes to your year hyphen and the month. Then we don't know the month, day as well as the time. Only the year value is known. So you are going to represent as 2003, that is a year. So even we have some other uncertainty intervals which may be represented. So this date and date or time model also provides for imprecise or estimated dates, such as those commonly seen in your medical history. So to represent these intervals while applying your ISO 8601 standard, it is recommended that sponsor concatenate the date or time values using the most complete representation of your date or time known that describes the beginning as well as the end of the interval of uncertainty, and separate them with the solidus as shown, like where we can use a / to use as a solider to separate your intervals. Now, whereas other certainties are also there, where we can use intervals which may be represented by the omission of the components we have. That is your ISO 8601, which is going to represent missing intermediate compounds through the use of hyphen, where the missing component would normally be represented. This may be used in addition to appropriate right truncations as well. So for complete date or time representations, when components are omitted, the expected delimiters must still be kept in place, and only a single hyphen is to be used to indicate an omitted component. That is where, suppose if we have a date value of December 15, 2003, along with the unknown values or the missing values in hours and minutes, then how it is going to represent? Then you will include a T separator for your date as well as time. So 2003 hyphen 12 and hyphen 15 is what you are going to represent as a day, and then the separator T, then you will write a hyphen, a colon, and then 15, or the seconds or minutes, whatever you are going to have. And let us also see, using a character based data type to implement your ISO standard will ensure that your date or time information will be machine and human readable without the need for further manipulation, and will be a platform and software independent. So that's the reason the date and time values are in a character based data type, not as a numeric one. Let's also see about the intervals of time and use of duration based upon your variables for duration. So here we have seen about your ISO 8601, which is an interval of time. This is a part of a time axis limited by two time instances, such as time is going to be represented in STTM by the variables STDTC and NTC, right? So this variable represents two instances that bound an interval of time, while the duration is a quantity of time that is equal to the difference between these 2 points, start date as well as your end dates. So ISO 8601 allows an interval to be represented in multiple ways. So one representation is where we have 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day. Then a separator for your time, hours, minutes, seconds, separated by colons. So here it is going to represent the interval by providing the start date or your end date and end time as well as a boundary. It does not provide the value of the duration, that is a quantity of time, but duration is frequently used during a review. However, your duration timing variable should generally be used in a domain if it was collected in lieu of your start date or time, that is based upon your STDTC variable values as well as your ENDTC values. So if both the start date and end days are collected, durations can be calculated, that is by the difference of these two values, and need not be in the submission data set. Both duration and duration units can be provided in the single durable or duration variable in accordance with your ISO 8601 standard. The values provided in your duration should follow one like the following, where we can say like PN, YN, MN, DT, where N, HN, minutes and seconds, or simply you can write as PNW, where your P is going to represent the alphanumeric string that precedes the duration. So the use of the character P is based upon the historical use of the term period for duration. and n is also there, so it is representing the positive number or 0, and w is there where it is used as a week designator preceding a data element that represents the number of calendar weeks within the calendar year. Say for example we have something like p2y, it represents 2 years. Suppose if we have p6w, which is going to represent 6 weeks of calendar time, and your letter p must be precede other values in your ISO 8601 representation of duration, and the n is going to be preceded, each letter represents the number of years, months, days, hours, minutes and seconds, or the number of weeks as well as with the date or time format. T is used to separate the date components from your time components. So here we can note that your weeks cannot be mixed with any other date or time components such as days or months in duration expressions. So in this case, with the date or time representation in either DTC variable or STDTC variable or your ENDTC variable, only the components of duration that are known or collected need to be represented. Also, as this is the case with your date or time representation, if no time component is represented, your T, that is nothing but your time designator separator, must be omitted even if you have any missing time. ISO 8601 is also going to allow us that the lowest order components of duration being represented may be represented in decimal format. So this may be useful for us if your data is collected in formats such as 1 and 1.5 hour, so 2.5 weeks, or say for example 1/2 a week or 1/4 of an hour, and the sponsor wishes to represent his precision or this precision in your ISO 8601 representation. So remember that this is the only allowed in the lowest order component in any duration representation. So here we have some representation like duration which was originally recorded as well as your ISO 8601 duration. So 2 years is what we have in the first observation, that can be represented as P2Y, and 10 weeks P, then 10W. Then 3 months and 14 days you can represent as P3M and 14D. 3 days P3D. Then 6 months 17 days 3 hours. So you can represent as P6M 17D. Time separator you have to include, then write as 3 hours, that is H. 14 days 7 hours 57 minutes. Then you can write as P14D, then time separated 7H 57M. Then 42 minutes and 18 seconds. Here we have to specify the separator because we don't have the date values. So P, T, 42M and 18S. 1/2 hour. So P, T 0.5 H, that is where you can represent, and 5 days 12 and the quarter of that hour, that is what you can specify as P. 5D separator T 12.25 hours. Then you have a quarter of that week of 4 weeks, so you can represent as P 4.5 weeks. So this is how your IG of STTM is helping us out when you have the values in this way. So you can include a period symbol and denote this. So here a leading 0 is required with decimal value less than 1, like 1/2 hour, 0.y, that is where we can represent it. So let us also see the interval with uncertainty. So when an interval of time is nothing but your amount of time, that is the duration, following an event whose start date or time is recorded with some level of precision, that is we can consider as when one knows what is the start date or time and the duration following your start date or time. So the correct ISO 8601 usage to represent this interval can be a 4-digit year followed by hyphen 2-digit month and followed by hyphen 2-digit day. Then your separator for your hours, minutes and seconds. Then you can also represent by means of using p to implement your duration as well. So here your start date or time is represented before the solidus, that is your forward slash, where pn following your solidus represents the duration and the entire representation is known as an interval. So this is a recommended representation of elapsed time. So here we have given your start date or time and the duration elapsed. Next, when an interval of time is an amount of duration measured prior to an event whose start date or time is recorded, that is with some level of precision, where one knows what is the end date or time and the duration preceding that end date, then you can specify like the other way. Duration first, where your duration is represented before your solidus and the end date or time is represented following the solidus, and the entire representation is known as an interval. Now let's see how we can use your study day variables as well. So the permissible study day variables are dy, sd, dy and endy. So to describe your relative day of the observation starting with the reference day as day 1, so determine by comparing the date portion of the respective date or time variables, that is like dtc, sdttc and endtc. So to the date portion of your subject references start date, your RF from your demographics domain is being considered, and the subject reference start date is designated as study day 1, and your study day value is incremented by 1 for each date following your reference start date. So dates prior to your reference start dates are decreased by 1, with the date preceding reference start date designated as study day minus 1. So there is no study day 0, note that point. And here we have the algorithm for determining your study day, that is where consistent with how people typically describe sequential days relative to a fixed reference point, but creates problems if used for mathematical calculations because it does not allow for a day 0. As such, your study day is not suited for use in subsequent numerical computations such as calculating the duration. So your raw date values should be used rather than your study day in those particular calculations. So all your study day values are integers, so you can calculate your study day by either of the following. What are there, like dy, it is going to represent date portion of your dtc values minus date portion of your reference date, that is the reference start date, plus 1 if your dtc is on or after your reference start date. Coming to another scenario where dy value we are going to get, that is nothing but the date portion of dtc variable you are going to extract, and minus your date portion of your reference start date is what we are going to take if your dtc value is going to precede your reference start date. So all domains based on the 3 general observation classes should have at least one timing variable. So for domains in the events or intervention observation class, and for domains in the findings observation class for which data are collected only once during the study, the most appropriate timing variable may be a date, that is your dtc or sdttc. Yes, so or some other timing variables. For studies that are designed with a defined schedule of visit based activities, domains for data that are to be collected more than once per subject, say for example in your labs data set, ECG, vital signs, those are expected to include visit num as your timing variable. So clinical encounters are described by the CDISC visit variables. For planned visits, values like your visit, visit num and visit day must be those defined in your trial visits dataset as well. So for planned visits, values of your visit num are used for sorting and should wherever possible match the planned chronological order of visits. Occasionally a protocol will define a planned visit, so whose timing is unpredictable. Say for example, one planned in response to an adverse event, we got a threshold test value or a disease event, and completely chronological values of visit num may not be possible in such kind of a case. So there should be a one-to-one relationship between your visit as well as your visit num. For visits that may last more than one calendar day, visit day should be the planned day of the start of the visit. So sponsor is going to practice for populating visit variables for unplanned visits, which may vary across the sponsors. So visit num should generally be populated even for unplanned visits, as it is expected in many findings domains. And the earliest method of populating your visit num for unplanned visits is to assign the same value. Say 99 is there, so that is what you are going to give the value as well to all unplanned visits. But this method provides no differentiation between your unplanned visits and does not provide chronological sorting. So methods that provide one-to-one relationship between visits and values of visit num that are considered across domains, that is going to assign your visit num values that sort chronologically, require more work and must be applied for all the subjects unplanned visits which are known. So visit may be left null or may be populated with a generic value, can you can say as unscheduled as well for all unplanned visits, or individuals value may be assigned to different unplanned visits. For visit day, it must not be populated for unplanned visits, since your visit day is nothing but the definition where the planned study day of visit, and since your actual study day of an unplanned visit belongs in your dy variable, that is where we are going to calculate. Say for example, your unique subject id like 001, he visited on week 1 and the visit num is, we will consider as 2, and the visit day is 7 because of week, and your LBDY is 7. And next coming to your another week, second week for the same subject, it's a week visit number 3 and the visit day is 14 and the LBDY value will be 13. And if you can consider week 2 which is unscheduled, you will write as in the weeks 2 itself it's an unscheduled, so it's not planned, so you will write as 3.1 instead of writing as 4 in your visit num, and you will specify a null value for your visit day, and then for LB day you will represent as 17. So representing your additional study days is based upon the values to be represented as your study day dy, which is relative to your reference start day variable in your demographics data set. So we will consider your reference start date and then we are going to give the exact results. So the calculation of additional study days within the subdivisions of time in your clinical study may be based on one or more sponsor defined reference dates which are not represented by your reference start date. So in such cases, sponsor is only going to define your supplemental qualifier variables as well as define.xml should reflect the reference dates which is used to calculate such study days. So if sponsor wishes to define date within element or date within epoch, then the reference date or time will be an element start date or time in the subject's elements dataset, that is your SC domain. And with this I'm going to conclude the webinar based upon the topic of actual and relative time assumptions, what we consider for your SDTM domain. And I thank you all for your active participation, and once again we shall meet in the next webinar with much more information. Thank you all.